Okay, Tartarus. Tartarus is, in ancient Greek mythology, a deep abyss. And it's a dungeon of torment and suffering for the wicked and a prison for the Titans. It's far below Hades as the earth is below the heavens. It's under the ground. In Greek mythology, Tartarus is both a deity and a place in the underworld. And according to Greek mythology, the realm of Hades is the place of the dead, but Tartarus has a number of inhabitants. And when Cronus came to power as the king of the Titans, he imprisoned the one-eyed Cyclops and the 100-armed Hecaton cherries into Tartarus and set the monster Campy as its guard. Zeus killed Campy and released the imprisoned giants to aid him in the conflict with the Titans. The gods of Olympus eventually triumphed, and Cronus and many of the other Titans were banished to Tartarus, though Prometheus, Epimetheus, Metis, and most of the female Titans were spared. According to Pindar, Cronos somehow later earned Zeus's forgiveness and was released from Tartarus to become ruler of Elysium. Another Titan, Atlas, was sentenced to hold the sky on his shoulders to prevent it from resuming its primordial embrace with the earth. Other gods could be sentenced to Tartarus as well. Apollo is a prime example, although Zeus freed him. The Hecatoncheires became guards of Tartarus's prisoners. Later, when Zeus overcame the monster Typhon, he threw him into wide Tartarus. Originally, Tartarus was used only to confine dangers to other gods in Olympus, but later on, humans and demigods that angered Zeus were thrown in it as well. In Roman mythology, Tartarus is described by Virgil in the Aeneid. He says, "It is guarded by a hydra with 50 black gaping jaws, which sits at a screeching gate, protected by columns of solid adamantine, a substance akin to diamond, so hard that nothing will cut through it. Inside there is a castle with wide walls and a tall iron turret. Tisiphone, one of the Erinyes, who represents revenge, stands guard sleepless at the top of this turret, lashing a whip. There is a pit inside which is said to extend down into the earth, twice as far as the distance from the lands of the living to Olympus. At the bottom of the pit lie the Titans, the twin sons of Aleus, and many other sinners." Okay. This description of Tartarus is a prison. In other literature, it's described as walled off, so there's the cube, and inside there's concentric circles, and the prisoners are divided up based on their crimes. You know, some of the worst go to the very bottom, and the Titans are at the very bottom. Okay, I've done some research, and I believe this was a real thing. I believe it was a mining pit that was converted to an actual prison. If you take a look at some of these prisons today, they have the same design. Okay, so generally a prison is surrounded by a walled cubic type fence, and inside it's a circular design, and in the center would be a control tower, and there's a gate inside the prison, but it's generally circular inside so that they can see all of the prisoners, and they generally separate some of the worst from the others, although nowadays who the heck knows what they do in these goofed up prisons. But what this reminds me of is this Tartarus description is of a mine. And we know that the Phoenicians were totally into metals, and they were mining. Now, what I have here is a picture of a mine out in South Dakota. And you can see this circular design. And you could see that if they were mining this stuff in the ancient days, and by the way, this is called the Homestake Mine, and it's in Lead, South Dakota. It was a gold mine. But if they were mining, they would have created this kind of a pit, and it would have had circular type edges like this, and it would go deep down. And so, from this description of Tartarus, it sounds to me like it was an old mine, and they converted it to a prison and had guards, just like a prison today, and put up walls that they couldn't get out of. And they put the titans and the worst of the worst at the very bottom. Now, what's interesting to me is the deeper you go, you may, in this mine out here in South Dakota, they ran into some kind of an atomic situation, and it was neutrinos, and so they actually ended up getting a team out of Berkeley to look into dark matter particles and neutrinos at the bottom of this pit, which makes me wonder if these titans were in some kind of a mine that exposed them into some kind of a atomic radiation. And if you look at uranium mining in Virginia, there's human potential human health effects. The deeper you go into the earth and you start digging into some of this stuff, and I'd have to wonder if these titans at the bottom were exposed to radiation and died a very painful death. And what I find interesting is that all these goofs involved in this, the atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb and all of that, creating it, were completely involved in the occult. And, there's talk about people that are involved in it were doing bizarre rituals and trying to create things, and with the rituals and the atomic energy. And I am thinking this, giving these goofy scientists information on how to make some very destructive weaponry with these elements such as uranium that the ancestors were familiar with, basically maybe a payback for what Zeus did to them. So just, keep this in mind. It all connects, and everything, as usual, goes back to the story of these ancient Phoenicians. And those following my research know that Zeus killed off the evil titans and prevented their bloodlines from existing. So in his day, if this was a real place, and he took these nasty titans and threw them at the bottom of a mining pit and exposed them to radiation, they died an incredibly painful death. And after looking at all of this King Solomon Goetia and playing around, I think their souls are free. Their story is, they don't have a story other than they were titans. They were wiped from history, so to say, and they didn't find a place among the stars. In other words, they didn't get a star named after them. And so their souls are restless and their souls are angry. And, what's the people that are walking around on the planet, most of us come from Zeus and his family. We are the children of God. And so they hate us. These titans, they hate us because he removed their bloodline from the planet. So these restless souls of these titans hate us because we come from God, and that is why they seek to destroy us. And when these goofy scientists do all of these occult rituals, what are they being given? They're giving information on atomic energy, nuclear energy, what elements like uranium to get and make bombs with. So basically, they're giving information to create these bombs to drop on people and cause us to die a painful death just like the Titans did. Jack Parsons did bizarre rituals with the guy L. Ron Hubbard who created Dianetics. And so did Crowley, and so did all these other scientists that were involved in this Manhattan Project and other things during World War II. They've been doing all kind of goofy things, combining it with the occult, creating these weapons of mass destruction, and they get a lot of information from these entities that hate us because these entities had their bloodline removed from the planet, and we are the remainder of the bloodlines of Zeus and the other Cronides that weren't removed from the planet. So they want to destroy us. And I don't believe they're in chains now. They're dead. I think there was a physical prison called Tartarus. It was in a mine pit. And they were, being put in there. And when they put these titans at the very bottom, for all we know, they could have been exposed to uranium or some other kind of a element that was emitting radiation, and it caused them a very painful, slow death. So they're repaying us the favor, so to say. And like I said, all of these clowns involved in the occult and combining it with our tax dollars to create these weapons of mass destruction, they're getting this from these entities that despise us. And that's what's going on. Okay. And if you don't believe me, I just pulled this simply from Wikipedia. And this is some kind of a magazine written by L. Ron Hubbard. Take a look at it. I mean, my God. It's got a diamond in Satan and the humans. It's just so obvious. I mean, what does it take for you people to wake up? These idiots that play around with this stuff are just in contact with things that hate us and are telling them to create things to destroy us in the same way that they were destroyed. And they're probably looking for crystals and all kind of things underground. That's why he's got this giant crystal. I mean, they used it. Just take a look at it. Fantastic adventures. I mean, he's got Satan on it, for gosh sakes. I mean, how obvious is it? How obvious is it? This is the guy that was working with the guy from the Jet Propulsion Lab and Parsons, who was working on the atomic bombs and everything. Wake up. Okay, that's it.